Welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abbie Richie. I am the founder of Senior Savvy, and you can find me right here every Tuesday talking about age tech innovation as it relates to older adults. Now, today we've got kind of a different format, but we're going to go ahead and first run our intro. My guest today is Dr. Sara Kyle. She is the principal and founder of LE3 Solutions. Hello, Sara.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fabulous, and I'm so glad that you're here today. And you are on just about once a month, and we are talking about resident engagement and leading up to the Evolve 2023 conference. And we decided today, rather than have other guests on, that we were going to target one area of resident engagement in a slightly different way. So, sir, would you please introduce yourself for anyone who's joining us for the first time and our topic for today?
Yeah, so super excited. Today we're going to talk about resident engagement, but all around tech adoption and utilization. This is a conversation so many of us have had, maybe in silos, with one another at conferences. And so today I wanted to turn the tables a little bit on you, Abbie, because I know you are teaching your students in communities all the time, virtually and in person. And I think there is so much that we can garner from your experiences and kind of go back to that conversation of let's get back to the residents and what residents are saying, not what we're saying about residents. But the reason we're on here once a month is because it is leading up to our Evolve Conference 2023. It is virtual. It is July 11th, 13th, 18th, and 20th. There's 4 days of it, 4 hours a day. And one of those days we will be talking about tech and innovation. And this will kind of segue into that a little bit, where the conversation just isn't with us, but it is directly with residents. I'm super excited about what you put together for today. So let's do this.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We did put the link up there for the Evolve conference, and we'll put it up again and again. So while you're watching this, you want to register, go ahead and click on that link. And, I what I do with Senior Savvy is we are in the communities. We're teaching your residents regularly, both virtually and in person, and we're helping them with their technology. And and so yes, we do talk about this a lot, Sara. And if there was one thing that I would like to impress upon any operators right now is that your residents absolutely want to be able to use their technology.
Yeah. And so, as we kind of start through this, you've talked about being in the communities. What is one overarching theme that you've seen or learned the last few years when you're teaching older adults about tech? Is it that desire and that want to, or what else?
They 100% want to. So anytime I hear from an operator that their residents are not interested in technology, I think to myself, is that really true? Because my experience has been vastly different. They want to connect with their family and friends. And the way that you do this is through technology. So they want to learn. But the biggest thing that's holding them back is their confidence.
Mm,
So what we do at Senior Savvy is we build on their confidence. It's like our core model is that we start at the basics and then we build from there, because we know that when our students have a basic understanding of the vocabulary and
yeah,
the features and the functions, that they feel empowered to learn on their own. And I've found this over and over and over again, that it's the confidence piece that has made a huge difference in their learning curve. I want to go ahead and run a video of one of my students, Martha, who I I have worked with on Zoom and have been teaching classes at their community for almost 2 years now. And just to see them go from my students go from not feeling confident to confidence has been such a blessing. Let's go ahead and run Martha's video, please.
Okay.
Well, of course, we each learn what we absolutely need to know about our computers. And there's so much we don't know. And you've opened lots of windows into which, we've looked at news. I've learned new skills, build an awareness, but most of all, develop confidence in, trying things out on my own and sometimes stubbing a toe, but often succeeding, filling gaps in my knowledge. And I've actually set up a new computer on my own, which I never would have been able to do without you enabling me to try new things. And I am so appreciative.
Awesome. Yeah. Martha is similar to a lot of my students where they may say, I wasn't the techie one in my marriage, or since my husband passed, I've been doing more things, but I don't feel calm. I'm afraid I'm going to break it. And so to continue to just build on her skills allows her to learn independently. I also want to show a video of Suzanne. And the funny thing with Suzanne is that Suzanne says something that I hear people say, my students say all the time. We want to know what we don't know. That's what they want to know. So let's go ahead and run Suzanne's video, please.
Well, I thank you because thanks to everything you've taught us, I'm pretty comfortable when one of the kids says, oh, let's do whatever, Google Meet, or WebEx, or Zoom, or whatever. I'm comfortable enough to figure it out, and I don't feel like the dumbest old person in the room. Yeah, I think so. One of the things you asked the other day was, well, what do you want to know? And mostly it's, I want to know what it is that I don't know. And you've been great about giving me that kind of information.
My students is like, our modern devices are just handed to us. Like when we have babies and they're handed to us and we leave the hospital, there's no manual for them, right? And our devices don't come with a manual anymore. So, and my students are traditional learners. Like they want to learn from the bottom up. They're not YouTubers. They do go on YouTube to learn things, but they feel better when they're taught from the beginning. So that's always a basics place that we start from.
One thing I think that is so interesting about this is I know this. I know there's this resiliency in older adults, and it's almost the stigma is older adults don't like tech. It's a very ageist thought process. And I see kind of that resolve of older people want to be like, no, I can do this. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it once I do it, but I think it's that curiosity and that knowledge, that wanting and desire to learn and be relevant. And as I'm watching these videos, it makes me think about working, and Abbie, you work with these tech companies too, of everything that we are trying to put in the hands of residents is something that may operationally make work easier or may streamline some things. Really, we want to go to a completely digital atmosphere or experience. And if you hear kind of some of the things that they're saying in return, that push for adoption and utilization just so they can possibly see a menu or see the calendar or make a request, that's not the same use case that they want for it. It's much bigger than that, right? Like that's a starting point and something they can do with it, but it's not just about how I can interact inside the walls of my community using technology.
It is and it isn't. So, when we think about what communities are doing right and what they're not doing, the first thing that I would recommend that they do is to start on the information within the community, right? Like the menu and the activities, for instance, and to have that in a resident engagement platform. So you'd be surprised though, there are still some communities that are not utilizing a resident engagement platform. And I think that, COVID really brought the engagement platform front and center in a lot of places. Like they took the paper away and brought people onto a screen and looking at the screen and seeing what's available for them that day. And so anytime that you can really invest in your engagement platform, the better off everyone's going to be. Not just the residents, but also your staff, just from the, minimizing the amount of duplication of information. So that is something that I'm absolutely loving. Another thing that I love is just the easy integration of different apps in a resident engagement platform, like being able to click on a Zoom link in a platform that takes you directly to the Zoom classroom is a huge benefit and helps with adoption and the utilization of the technology.
Yeah. So if you are, we kind of peppered in best practices through this, but if an operator is just getting started, right? They're thinking about technology and innovation. Where do you start? I mean, you talked about engagement platforms a little bit, but what would you tell them to do first?
Yeah, definitely the engagement platform. I think there's so many ways that you can build on that. Simple ways, like with the menu, right? It's totally simple. Someone can understand that, not be threatened by wanting to get the menu. It's just an easy thing to do, and then begin to build on that. And I know a lot of communities use their engagement platform in a very integrative way. A couple weeks ago, I had on an operator from Friendship Village, Tempe, and they've been investing in building their resident app for over 10 years, and it's continued to serve them over and over again. And one thing that Connie has done, and I have a video for this, is that, not only do they take something like a recording of the Zoom classes, but they're also using it to list resources, for instance. So if we could play Connie's video, that would be great.
Well, the workshops have helped me in a lot of ways, because I can't always find the time or have the knowledge or time to research to help them figure something out. In the past, they would come to me with a phone and say, how do I find my photos that I took last year? And that one I can do, but some of the other things are a little harder for me to do, especially when they're in a different phone or device that I don't know how to use. So it has they've gotten better knowledge than I possibly could have given them, and kind of freed me up a little bit from that responsibility.
And another thing that I think is done, yes, start small. That's right. That's what we always do. We start small and we build from there. And another thing too that I think a lot of communities are doing really well is they're being flexible with their approach, especially right now. What that means is there are going to be some of residents that are going to want to take a class in person. There are going to be other residents that are going to be more comfortable taking a class on Zoom. And so being able to offer a variety of ways to engage, I think, is huge. Not just saying, no, we don't want to do online virtual things anymore. That cuts out like a whole population of people who truly just feel more comfortable learning in the privacy of their own home. And I experienced this firsthand when I started teaching on Zoom, and noticing that there were a whole bunch of students starting to attend my classes that I never saw in person in the classroom. I was like, where you been? Where you been all my life? I'm not, I was in your classroom for the past 2 years. And one of my students was like, yeah, I just don't want to be around a lot of people. I'm intimidated. I feel more comfortable here at home.
Yeah. What is the responsibility of the operator? So we have the tool that is the engagement platform that helps us kind of navigate this innovation and technology adventure, if you will. Is it the engagement platform's responsibility to teach residents? Is it internal? Is it a staff? Where do you think that lies? Is it resident to resident?
Well, the way I've seen it having a strong impact is with a resident technology committee, for instance. So at a lot of the communities, they have a tech community or an activity committee. And because there's such a huge focus on the technology, there's enough interest there to start to build on that. So I think it's really a matter of several different departments getting together and taking on tech, because the tech is not going away, right? It's just going to build and build and build. And like we know from, from research, that the younger residents are moving in with as a couple 12 plus devices. That's a lot of management, right? That's a lot of tech support. So some things that communities are doing well is they're doing like a tech concierge role. And we do this at several communities. We do like an hourly of like 6 hours a month, where the engagement director will connect with us and say, you know what, this resident needs an hour of tech support. Please connect with them. And this offsets the staff from getting stuck in the hallway answering questions about iPhone photos or cloud storage or passwords, and allows the staff to do what they do best.
Yeah, and I think that is a point of, just because you work in senior living doesn't mean you have this propensity or desire to teach people technology.
Yeah, right.
The maintenance man, most of the time, that's not going to be his most favorite part of the job. I think so many people fall into it, and we think that the existing staff can take on the demand, when I don't know that we've really thought about what that does in lieu of other job responsibilities, but also satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it's so necessary that the community has a point person, a place to go for these tech issues. So having, an IT person, using a senior savvy tech concierge is going to offset the pressure that the staff feels. And there are some communities where we are there doing a tech cafe every week, where people drop in to the library or the computer lab, they bring their portable device, they get their question answered, and then they're able to go on and continue on with their day. I love offering this service of a tech cafe. It's like having a genius bar at your community. And what this allows your resident to do is to stay safe, because they don't have to leave to go get help or go to the Apple store or go to Best Buy to get the help that they need. And they can do that quickly and easily. And another thing too, what I found just by teaching workshops is that a lot of people will sit through a whole workshop on a topic that they don't care about. It's not relevant to their need today. They'll learn something, but they'll wait till the very end, and then they'll ask their non-related tech question, right?
We talked about this, and I think it's worth noting. If all you have is your corporate IT help desk to support you, I would probably say that's better than nothing. But what have you heard that is maybe not so desirable from residents when they talk about getting help from a corporate IT help desk?
Yeah. So what I hear is that they'll say something like, yeah, John is here. He will come by. He is very busy, but he doesn't talk to me. It's usually this one piece of personal connection. Like, and I get it. Like, if you're on a time schedule and you're at a community, maybe part-time or twice a week, and you've got to be there, and you need to be able to get through 12 tickets in one day or something. Yeah, it's going to be hard to create a connection and a relationship and build trust with these residents. Yeah. So that just is what I hear, is that a resident will say, yeah, he can do it, but he doesn't make me feel good about it either. And that's another thing, is that, when we're helping your residents, one of our main goals is to empower you and to build you up and to let you know what, like, this tech thing, it happens, right? And it happened, and everything just keeps changing. So even if you were like a tech expert 20 years ago, you have a master's degree in, IT, everything changes constantly. So, constantly just trying to build up my clients, my students, to let them know, like, yeah, everyone struggles with this. You're not alone. Let's work on it together. You're doing so well. I'm so proud of you. And that's a little piece that some of the internal people are not bringing to their tech support.
Yeah. Well, and if you're going to make the investment in these platforms and with, a full digital approach, we have to think about the investment from the training and the education, and not just hope it works out or hope that staff can absorb it or residents can teach one another. I think that's the responsibility that doesn't get overlaid into this idea of utilizing a platform as often as it should. It's usually an afterthought. And then, oh gosh, we're not getting the results that we want. So what do we need to do?
Yeah, I think there's so many practical ramifications of not addressing this on many fronts. You know, not just the security aspect
Yeah.
of having secure devices, coming up with secure passwords, which I'm fanatic about, and teaching that, but also uh, how it helps residents connect with their family on just a purely, base level. So one thing I wanted to say was, we have a program we have put together for activity directors. It is a 52-week, it's an annual program where we have the classes that are already written for your community, and we can teach you how to teach them to your residents, along with a worksheet and a handout, because our students love handouts, and helping you so you don't have to write that curriculum, but you can teach it. And so that program is something that we offer to different communities as well.
Well, and I think you're understanding the questions that they're asking, right? If you're just starting from scratch, it's like it could be an endless ocean of questions that I'm supposed to know. And
That's
so
right.
if I start out and I offer a class and then I don't, right, from the beginning, you have to start off on that. I have the knowledge that you want, so you feel comfortable asking those questions, and that's what brings in that confidence that keeps it's a cyclical effect, and we both parties have to be confident in what we're teaching and educating.
Yes.
Last question I'm going to ask you, and I don't know if you have a video for this one or not, but our Agent Anonymous technology, do you see that older adults are still a little bit apprehensive and younger adults are, out the gate, this is what I need? Is it that black and white?
No, it's not. Before COVID, I would say yes, it is. After COVID, no, absolutely not. And, I recently worked with a very new resident at a community, and I was like, whoa, this is that resident that we're talking about. This is the boomer resident that's moving in, right? And I've been like kind of waiting for that new boomer resident to move in. And Carol is that new boomer resident, already understanding how all the devices work, already knowing, her basic plus tech. And so her needs are going to be different. Her needs are going to be more detailed and less basic. But then I will say, I've had a lot of students in the past, 4 years who have shown up with an Apple Watch before I had one, okay? Who have shown up, with a brand new iPhone before I had one and knew how to swipe up to go home. So, you're just going to find that there's a huge range. I want to go ahead and show a video of Beverly. Now, this was really powerful on many, many levels. And I want to just cue it up for a minute and talk about this. So Beverly is at a nearby community. She has all Apple devices, and and she's very tech forward, especially for her age. You wouldn't think that she would be. So I want to show you this video, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
And if you need me to play it, let me know. Okay. All right. Let me do this. I got to cue it up. All right. Sorry about that. Little choppy here. Okay, here we got Beverly. Now, I want you to see this too. Like, I capture these videos of my students all the time. It doesn't matter. I don't need a production company to do these, right? I just lift up my phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, Beverly, you just said that. I got to get a video of this because this is powerful stuff. So here she is, and I'm going to go ahead and run it.
Beverly, please tell me how the Apple Watch saved your husband's life.
Well, my husband was dressing for dinner on Christmas Eve. He fell, he passed out, so he could not push his alert button, but the Apple Watch hit the wall or the floor and called the ambulance for him. And when the ambulance arrived, before our people here at the V knew that he'd had an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let me stop that share. Yeah. So, I mean, it's so powerful, right? And it's one of the reasons why I do recommend that that my students wear something that's helping them with fall detection, and not because a community doesn't care about it, but because it's hard to detect everything that happens, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Well, and just talking about this, I on the same idea that all younger people like tech and all older people don't. I mean, we could essentially see that new residents moving in have a higher propensity and understanding of tech than some of our staff.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it really depends on the individual. I have a lot of students who will say, I always had a secretary and my secretary did everything for me, even photocopying. I don't know how to do anything. And then there'll be other people who, got it all down and they just need a little bit of help getting started. Just how does this integrate with what I already have? And so it really just depends on the person.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
super excited. When we talk about Evolve, that first day is going to go focused on amplifying the resident voice. And we want to have more conversations around some of the topics and or ideas that we have, really demystifying that us and them. I want to move so far past it's us and them from older and younger or staff and resident. So excited about that. But then also when we look at technology and innovation, really thinking about what is worthwhile to people. What do residents find value in? What do staff find value in? What reduces the workload? And then what actually adds to it or has redundancies that we're still working through? And what is that timeline? I mean, you've talked about working in these communities for years now, teaching residents, and it is a progression. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think we have to understand that once you kind of go on this journey, you got to stay on track. And look, I know, Dalen, you said earlier, but look for those small wins along the way and celebrate those successes.
100%. Like I was just teaching a class earlier today on spring cleaning your tech, and I brought up the idea of using a password manager like LastPass or OnePass, something I would not have been able to introduce to my students a year ago. So their needs and their ability to understand things are constantly evolving,
Yeah.
and just like our needs are and our ability to serve them, it's constantly evolving. So I do hope that we have a chance to continue to build on this conversation and to realize that it's just not a one size fits all. Like I said earlier, not everyone is going to want to do a classroom activity. Some people are going to want to be hybrid, some are going to want to do Zoom for their own reasons, and
Mhm.
some communities are going to be best if they're taught how to teach their own residents.
Yeah. Well, no, I love this. Thanks for those insights. Thanks for the videos. It brings the conversation to life, and it is true testimonials where you hear tone and excitement and achievement, and I just love that one you have those, and thank you for sharing them with us.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I've got tons of them. So, and I just think they're so valuable. And my students they tell it how it is, and I love to capture that. And so, as we wrap up here, and we're thinking about Evolve, can we go ahead and put the slide back up with the registration information, please? Thank you so much. And Sarah, how can someone connect with you to ask questions?
Yeah. So you can send an email. You can go to LA3 Solutions. You can find me on LinkedIn, but it's Kyle at LA3 Solutions. You can drop information. There is a call for presentations right now that is out. If you're doing anything cool, we're going to have like a kind of a micro 5-minute highlight reel. So if you don't want to do a full 45-minute presentation, send us what you got. Everything's being considered. Tickets right now are $139. They're the cheapest that they will be. There are operator discounts if you want to send a team of people. So reach out to us, ask your questions, and we will do everything we can to answer them. And if you need to get paired with people, but if you're doing something cool, we want to hear about it. We want you to share with peers. We want new faces. We want new voices. You could be doing this for 2 months or 20 years, but we just want you to share what it is that you're doing well that's worthwhile.
I love it. I love it. And if this is your first time at the Evolve conference, you'll see that it's virtual. It's staggered out over a couple of weeks, so you're not leaving your job. It's, it's really manageable in order for you to continue to learn and to get what you need out of a conference without having to leave your desk. So
Yep.
it's really, really flexible in that way. All right, well, great. For the people who have joined us today, thank you for your participation. I'm very, very grateful. Sarah, it's a pleasure as always. And thank you. We will see you back here next week.
All right. Bye-bye.